السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدني علما، اللهم فقهنا في الدين، آمين يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم إن شاء الله. I hope that all of you are doing well. Today for our Ramadan series, our topic is going to be the topic of Akhlaq. So we're going to go ahead and start by looking at what is Akhlaq. So Akhlaq in Islam refers to a person's character and their personality. This is a phrase that is very comprehensive. It includes a lot of things. So it would include a person's character, their personality, but also their mannerisms and how they interact with others. So all of these things are included within akhlaq. So when we talk about akhlaq, normally we refer to this as a person's character. When we say husn al-khuluq, for example, we say good character or excellent character. But akhlaq includes the character, the personality as well, mannerisms, and also how you interact with others. So the way that you talk with others, the way that you interact with others, the rights that you give to other people, all of this is also included within akhlaq. And then within akhlaq as well is avoiding certain personality traits that are not desirable, such as stinginess or avoiding traits like anger, depression, just being like too negative. Things like this are also all included within akhlaq. So this is a very comprehensive term. It includes a lot of things, more than just saying good character. This also refers to a lot of other things like the mannerisms, how you deal with others and interact with others as well. So good akhlaq is something that is very necessary for a Muslim, for a believer. And as a good Muslim, we should be very careful to make sure that we have good akhlaq because a Muslim should never have bad character or a bad disposition. So these are two things that do not go together. For someone to have submitted to Allah, to become Muslim, to become a mu'min, someone who believes, someone who has iman, that person should have good akhlaq because this akhlaq is going to be something that may prevent you from going to Jannah, or having good akhlaq is the reason that you will go to Jannah. So sometimes we have this question that, there are people that are non-Muslim, but they are such good people. Like, mashallah, they have such good akhlaq. So what will be their outcome? And of course, Allah knows best. But in certain cases, it may be that because someone has such a good akhlaq, such good character, that it may be the reason that Allah will take them to paradise. And similarly, for a Muslim who is doing all of their ibadah, that is doing everything right, but they're a horrible person, they don't treat other people nicely, and they have very bad thinking, they're very stingy, they have a lot of anger, they yell at people, they don't give people their rights. So no matter how much ibadah you do, you are still a person that does not have good akhlaq. And so this may compromise the ibadah that you're doing for the sake of Allah. So this is something that is very important. We have to make sure that as Muslims, we have good akhlaq. So we learn from a couple of the hadith the importance of good akhlaq. We learn in one of the hadiths, verily the people with the most complete faith have the best character. For good character reaches the level of regular fasting and prayer. So someone who has the most complete faith, the most complete iman. So all of us say that we believe in Allah. We all have said the shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. We have said this. We say we submit to Allah. But the one that has the most complete faith, the one who has the most complete submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that person that has the best character. So for us to simply worship Allah and just say that, I pray all 5 times a day, I fast during Ramadan, I have done Hajj, I give my zakat, so I have done all of these things. But if you do not have good character, then you have not completed your faith. You have not completed your iman, and you are not worshiping Allah the way that He deserves to be worshipped, because akhlaq is included within this. And it's mentioned that good character reaches the level of regular fasting and prayer. So for someone to have good character, this is also a form of ibadah, to the point that it is at that level of regular fasting and prayer. Now, this doesn't mean that if someone has good akhlaq, they leave the fast, they leave the prayer, and they say that this is enough for me. My good character is enough to get me into Jannah. This is never a guarantee, but we need to have both. As Muslims, we have to be fasting, we have to have our prayers, but we also must have good akhlaq. And we cannot only have our fast and prayers without having good akhlaq. So we can't have one without the other. As Muslims, we need to have both. From another hadith, we learn, indeed, those among you who are most beloved to me and who will be seated nearest to me on resurrection day are those with the best manners. So this is from Hadith Qudsi, meaning that Allah Azza wa Jal has said this himself. He says that those people that are going to be closest to him and will be seated closest to Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment, are going to be those with the best manners. So again, this is something that is so important that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning specifically, that this type of person, the one with good akhlaq, the one with good manners, this is the type of person that is going to be near me on that day. So again, fasting, praying, doing all of your ibadah is not going to be enough. We have to have good manners if we want to be amongst those people who are going to be nearest to Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah. From another hadith, we learn, verily bad character spoils deeds, just as vinegar spoils honey. So for you to do your good deeds, to do your ibadah, to read Quran, and pray and fast and all of these things, it is not enough for you to do all this and then still have bad character, because that bad character is going to compromise the good deeds that you have done. So it is so important that if we are, alhamdulillah, doing akmal ibadah, we are completing all of our ibadah the best that we can, we have to take a look at our akhlaq, at our character, and see, how do we treat other people? What is my thinking like? Do I have negative thinking? Do I have bad assumptions of other people? Do I think badly of Allah? When I am doing certain things, do I lash out? Do I curse? Do I say bad things to other people? We have to think about this, because if we have bad akhlaq, it may be that our ibadah is compromised. And we want to make sure that if we are putting in all of that hard work to pray, to fast, to do all of these things to obey Allah, we want that our ibadah, our acts of worship are accepted as well. So we have to make sure that our bad character is not spoiling our deeds like vinegar spoils honey. From another hadith, we learn, nothing is heavier on the believer's scale on the day of judgment than good character. So again, this is something that we should not underestimate. Nowadays, in our society, we have this thinking that, why should I be good to people? Why should I be a good person? No one is good to me. I don't get anything from being good. Sometimes I do good to people, and then life throws me some like horrible hardships. So why should I be good? Why should I bother being good? And in Islam, we have that answer here, that it is the heaviest thing on the scale on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. The heaviest thing will be your good character. So you are not doing good with other people. You are not being a good person for the sake of other people to benefit you. So for other people to say thank you to you or to give you something in return. This is not why we are good people in Islam. In Islam, we have husn al-khuluq, we have excellent character, we have good character because we want to be nearest to Allah, and we want that our character will speak for itself on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So in Islam, the concept of being a good person is something of a selfish concept. We are doing it for ourselves. Even if no one is going to give you acknowledgement, no one says thank you to you for doing something nice, no one treats you the way that you treat them, you treat them with so much respect, and they don't treat you with that same respect back. So you may have this thinking that, why should I still keep doing this? Why should I be a good person? I'm going to do horrible things too. And the reason why is because we want to be close to Allah, and we want that our actions will help us on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. We learn from the Quran that the Prophet ﷺ was sent as a role model for all of mankind, for all of humanity. He was sent as a role model because he had the perfect character. We learn from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما بعثت لأتمم صالح الأخلاق, that verily I have only been sent to perfect righteous character. So from the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ and from the actions of the Prophet ﷺ, we learn that this is the way that we can have perfect character. Salih al-Akhlaq, that this is the perfect righteous character. So the Prophet ﷺ has been sent for this reason. And we know that he is the best person to teach us about good character because he is the one that was said in the Quran to be the people that are of the best character. We learn in Surah Al-Qalam, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, and you are truly a man of outstanding character, meaning the Prophet ﷺ had such great character. This is mentioned in the Quran itself. خُلُقٍ عَظِيم, the great, the best, the most outstanding character. And Allah says, indeed, you are truly that person who is on the best of character. So if we should learn from anyone, it should be the Prophet ﷺ because he is the one that has the best character. And then in the Quran itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, you have an excellent example. Uswatun hasana, a wonderful example, an excellent example, a wonderful role model. لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ. So for that person who wants to meet Allah and he is knowing that he is going to meet Allah on the last day, then for that person he should look at the character of the Prophet ﷺ and use that as an example. We learn from one of the sayings of the Sahaba, Abu Uthman al-Hiri, may Allah have mercy on him, said, companionship with Allah is to have good manners. So companionship of Allah is to have husn al-khuluq, to have good manners, to always be reverent and obedient to Allah, and to be mindful of Him, have taqwa, know that Allah is watching you. Companionship with the Messenger of Allah is to follow his sunnah and adhere to the outward rulings. So if we want companionship with the Prophet ﷺ, we have to follow his sunnah, follow his example. And then companionship with the allies of Allah or the people who are going in Allah's way is to respect and to serve them. And companionship with one's family and children is to have good character. Companionship with one's brothers is to always be joyful and cheerful unless there is sin. And companionship with the foolish is to supplicate for them, to be merciful to them, and to appreciate the blessings of Allah upon you as you have been kept safe from their trials. So here we learn in this saying from one of the Sahaba, he is saying that there are different levels of akhlaq with every person. So when it comes to our level of akhlaq with Allah, it is to have good manners. And having good manners with the people is going to be companionship with Allah. And then be reverent of Allah. Know that Allah is watching you. Have taqwa of Allah. For the messenger, companionship is to follow his sunnah, to follow his teachings. And companionship with the people is to respect and serve the people. Have good character with your family, with your children, and with your own brothers, with your brothers in Islam. Be joyful, be happy, be cheerful with them. Don't always be in a mood. And then we learn that even with someone who is foolish, someone who is not on the path of Islam, who may be doing questionable things, even with that person, have companionship with them, have good character with them in the form of making dua for them. Be merciful towards them. Don't judge them. Don't say bad things about them. Make dua that Allah guides them. And then also do shukr. Have thanks that Allah has saved you from those same blessings. So here we learn in this saying that there is levels of companionship for every single person. There is a level of good character, of good akhlaq that you should have with every person that is in your sphere of influence, that is around you in your life. So when it comes to husn al-khuluq or good character, we learned in the first slide that this is a very comprehensive term. So for us to say good character, it is not going to do it enough justice to show us exactly how many things are included within this one phrase. So when it comes to husn al-khuluq, there are many, many things that are included within having good character. And then one example of them is truthfulness, being truthful. We learn from the hadith that truthfulness leads to righteousness, and righteousness leads to paradise. And a man keeps on telling the truth until he becomes a truthful person. So we learn that to be righteous, to be a obedient Muslim to Allah, someone who has submitted to Allah, you have to be truthful. And truthfulness is going to lead to this righteousness. Righteousness meaning that you have this good character. And this righteousness is going to lead you to Jannah. So this is a form of good akhlaq, is being truthful. Another form is going to be kindness and mercy. The merciful ones are shown mercy by the most merciful. We learn this from the hadith that the one who has mercy on people, Allah Azza wa Jal, the most merciful, is going to show mercy to that person. Show mercy to those who are on earth, and the one above the heavens will show mercy to you. So the one who is merciful, Allah will be merciful to him on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. Another form of good akhlaq is avoiding oppression. So we learn, O my servants, I have indeed prohibited injustice upon myself. This is Allah saying this about himself. I have made haram injustice and oppression upon myself, and I have made it haram among you. Therefore, do not oppress one another. So, avoiding oppression and making sure that you are not taking away anyone's rights, this is also a form of good akhlaq. Another form of good akhlaq is generosity. We learn from the hadith that the generous one is near to Allah, near to paradise, near to the people, and far from the hellfire. So, generosity is also a form of good akhlaq. That someone who has a lot of generosity, a very open heart for people, he is also going to be one person who has good character and he will be close to Allah on that day. Number five, we have trustworthiness. We learn from the hadith, he who is not trustworthy has no faith. So if you do not have trustworthiness, meaning people cannot trust you with things, then it is as if you have no faith. You have no iman, no belief in Allah. So this is another cornerstone of our faith. Number six, love. We learn from the hadith, none of you will truly believe until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. So this is a very famous saying. Again, this is teaching love for each other. And if we do not have love for other people, then we will not treat them well. We will not have good akhlaq. We will not have good character because we are lacking that love with other people. Number seven, justice. We learn from the Quran, O believers, stand firm for justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against your own selves, your own parents, or your own close relatives. So this is a verse that is advocating for justice, which is another pillar of having good akhlaq. Soft-heartedness, we learn from the hadith, shall I not tell you of one forbidden for hellfire? And hellfire is forbidden for him. It is everyone gentle, soft-hearted, and the kind person. So someone who is kind, who is soft-hearted, who is gentle towards other people, the hellfire or Jahannam is going to be made haram for him. It is made forbidden for him. Being forgiving is also amongst having good character. We learn from the hadith, forgive others and Allah will forgive you. Being patient, O you who have believed, seek help through patience and prayer. Indeed, Allah is with the patient. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. This is amongst the ayahs that we covered when we were doing the topic of patience, and we learned that patience is also a form of good akhlaq or good character. Modesty and faith have been paired together, where if one is removed, the other is removed as well. So again, modesty is also something that we must have. If we have faith in Allah, we have belief in Allah, we have to have modesty and haya as well. So these are just some examples of good akhlaq. So good akhlaq includes all of these things and also much more. There are so many things that we have not covered that we wouldn't have time to cover, but all of these things that make you a good person, all of this is included within good akhlaq. So being a good Muslim means that you are a well-rounded individual. This means that you care for other people. You can patiently endure hardships that are going on in your own life without having excessive anger, without having this extreme sadness, and saying that, Allah has betrayed me. This doesn't happen to anyone else. I'm the only one suffering. I'm the only one doing this. This means that you can go through all of these hardships without having these negative thoughts, without being unjust to others and taking away others' rights, being good to people and having ihsan upon people, meaning that even if people do not treat you well, you are still treating them with that same level of respect. And we learn that praying and fasting, reading Quran, doing all of these forms of ibadah will not mean anything if your character is not good. Because, like we learned, your bad character is going to spoil your deeds like vinegar spoils honey. Now, can you imagine eating honey? It is so sweet and delicious, and you putting vinegar in that is going to ruin the taste. So you having bad character is going to ruin the ibadah that you worked so hard towards. So we should focus on both acts of ibadah. And again, when we have good akhlaq, this is also considered a form of ibadah. So we focus on both and we better ourselves while we do it. So it is so important that as a Muslim, we are having good character and we are also doing the rights of Allah, meaning that we are doing all of our ibadah. We have to do both. As Muslims, we cannot have only one. We cannot only rely on good character, that I'm such a good person, that means I don't have to pray and fast. This is not true. When we look at the example of the Prophet ﷺ, he was such a beautiful man, mashallah, with such beautiful character. And when we look at him, he had such excellent character and he was the closest to Allah when it came to ibadah as well. So if the Prophet ﷺ with such ahsanul khuluq, with the most excellent character, khuluqin azim, the greatest of character, if this man is worshipping Allah to this extent, then we cannot afford to worship Allah for less, and we cannot afford for our character to be any less than the character of the Prophet. Inshallah, may Allah allow us to come to a level that is close to the Prophet ﷺ. Now, we were talking about having good akhlaq. What does it mean to have good akhlaq? And now we're going to cover how can we have good akhlaq. Now, sometimes akhlaq is something that comes with our personality, and this is a test from Allah. Some people are very quick to anger. Some people are very quick to sadden. Some people are not very friendly. Some people are not very open with other people. They are very closed off. So, if we have been created with this personality, how can I have good akhlaq? This is a question that many people have, that Allah has made me this way. Then how can I have good character towards other people? And again, good akhlaq does not only mean your personality. Now, if Allah has created you a certain way, He has made you very introverted, very shy. It is hard for you to talk to people. It's a huge thing for you to talk to someone and to ask them how their day went. To even say salam, sometimes this becomes a very hard thing. If Allah has created you as someone who is very angry, someone who always gets angry over everything, if your personality is like this, then is it fair for you to expect that you are going to have good akhlaq? And the answer to this is that your personality is not the only thing that makes your akhlaq good. And this is also a test from Allah. Now, if someone has been created with quick anger, they have had a temper since they were very young. Now, this is a test from Allah, that He created you with this test, and your test is knowing that despite me being quick to anger, I have to control myself. And because this is a test for you, you get extra ajr as well. Now, for someone who is very patient and calm and cool-headed, for that person to not get angry, it's not that big of a deal. Allah may give him ajr for controlling his anger, but he is already so calm that it's not a hard thing for him. So Allah gives him ajr for that act, of course. But for someone who is very quick to anger, Allah will give him extra ajr for this, because Allah knows that this is difficult for you, and Allah has made this as a test for you. So again, just because you have a personality that you feel like does not conform with some of these ideals, this does not mean that you cannot have good akhlaq. And the first way that we can have good akhlaq is learning more about Allah and learning more about Allah's names and attributes. When we learn Allah's names and Allah's attributes, we learn that Allah is Ar-Rahim, that He is all merciful. He's Al-Afu. He is forgiving. He is the most merciful. He is loving. He is caring. He is kind. He is al-Latif. He is gentle. When we learn all of these names and attributes of Allah, we learn that this is our Creator. And if our Creator is like this, then we have to be like this as well. Now, when Allah has all of these names and attributes, and we implement these things in our lives, then Allah will have those same attributes towards us on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So if Allah's name is Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. And we have mercy towards people because we know Allah is most merciful. So I must also have mercy. Then, as we learned in the hadith, Allah will have mercy towards us. And when we love Allah, we want to be like Allah. We want to have the same attributes as Allah. We want to be as close to Allah as we can. So, learning more about the names and attributes of Allah will make us love Allah, and this will make it easier for us to have all of these actions and this good akhlaq that is going to help us become a better person and help us get closer to Allah. Number two, reflecting on the day of judgment, and remembering that you will return to Allah. You will be questioned for everything that you say. This is going to remind you to treat others well, lest they come for you on that day, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on that day. Anyone that you have wronged is not going to leave you alone. They will come for you. So we need to remember that on that day, all of these people will come towards us and they will ask for our good deeds. They will ask for Allah to save them and put all of their deeds on us. We know that this is going to happen from many, many ahadith. So for someone who knows that this is going to happen, that if I treat someone bad, they will come after me on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the day of judgment, they will not treat that person badly. For someone that knows Allah will question me about all of this anger that I've had, all of the curse words that I've used towards other people, the insults that I've used, the way I've hurt people, Allah will question me on that day. Then you know that I have to keep myself in control. If I know that I can't answer to Allah on that day, I can't answer to Him, then in this world, this is going to help us get a little bit of self-control, and just remembering the day of judgment and knowing that we will meet Allah is going to make this a little bit easier. Number three, this is so very important. Make dua. Whenever you need something from Allah, make dua to Him. And there are a lot of du'as for good character. So ask Allah for it and He will give it to you. Make these du'as for good character. And this is so important because the Prophet ﷺ himself has made all of these du'as. And we learn from the sunnah of the Prophet, from the masnoon du'as, that he is asking Allah for good character. So we can also read these du'as, and Allah will give this to us. When we ask Allah sincerely for something, He will give it to us. And this is not one of those things that we make du'a for, and then Allah will say that, it's not good for you to have good character. This is something that Allah will give to you if you ask sincerely. Also, having good company is so very important. Being with people who are of good character will also remind you to be good as well. Now, if you are with a company of people that are always cursing, always yelling, always talking about bad things, always talking about zina or drugs or alcohol or whatever it is that they're talking about, or they don't talk about Allah, they only talk about things about the dunya. They treat others horribly, they gossip about people, and they are boasting about the ways that they've treated people. If you are amongst the company of these people, you will also be like them. We learn from the famous example of the hadith that a person that is a bad friend will be like someone walking into the shop of a goldsmith or a blacksmith. And the shop of a blacksmith is filled with smoke. And when you walk in, you will smell like smoke. And being a good friend and being in the company of good people will be like walking into a perfume shop. And when you come out, you will have perfume on you because you are amongst these people. So being with good people will also help you. If you are with someone that you know does not curse, you have never heard them curse, you know that they don't like it when people curse, you are going to be mindful of yourself and think that, I can't curse in front of this person. She doesn't like it or he doesn't like it. When you are with people that hate to backbite, the moment you bring up someone else, they will right away say that, I'm not talking about this. You feel ashamed and you will not want to backbite other people. If you are with people who are constantly remembering Allah and mentioning Allah, you will feel ashamed to change the topic from that, and you yourself will also mention Allah, and you will also be more mindful of Allah. So having this good company is also so very important for training yourself to have good akhlaq. Number five, being patient. Again, we have already covered the topic of patience, but this is so very important for good akhlaq. For good character, we need patience. We need to ask Allah for patience. We have to train ourselves to endure the things in life that test you. When we are not able to hold ourselves when it comes to the hardships in our lives, the small little things that test us in our lives, if we are not able to have patience for this, we will not be able to have patience when it comes to dealing with people, when it comes to having good character with people. So patience is something that we must need. You can refer back to our previous video about patience if you want a refresher on this, but it is something that is so important when it comes to good character. Also, remember that everything that you say is being recorded. We learn in Surah Al-Kahf that everything is ahsaha, everything is recorded word for word. The way that you have said it, exactly the way that you have said it, it is recorded in our books. So nothing will escape past Allah. It will be recorded in your book. So if you are aware that you are being watched and recorded, it is hard for you to do these things. For example, let's say you're yelling at someone and you are so mad, and someone brings up their phone and starts recording you. You become suddenly very conscious of what you're saying because you know you're being recorded. Allah is recording you 24/7. Everything you say and do is being recorded. And like we mentioned, when it came to remembering Yawm al-Qiyamah, these people will come after you. If you have wronged anyone, they will come after you. So we have to remember that everything is being recorded, we are being watched, and this, inshallah, will also be a deterrent, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. Learn the consequences of bad character. When we learn, there are a lot of hadiths about bad character. We learn that, for example, oppression will become a form of darkness on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the day of judgment. So this is a consequence of oppression, of oppressing other people. There are a lot of these bad character traits that have these consequences that are mentioned very clearly in the hadith. So when we learn about these things, it will act as a deterrent and a reminder for us that we cannot be amongst these people, and we have to make sure that we take out all of these things from our lives. And then, like we said, studying the life and the behavior of the Prophet ﷺ, the best way to learn ahsan al-khuluq, to learn best character, is to learn from the best example, which is the example of the Prophet ﷺ. He is such an excellent role model. And learning about his seerah, learning about who he was as a person, how he treated people, how gentle he was with people, this is going to be an excellent example from you. We learn from the Quran that Allah says, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ, that it is from the mercy of Allah that the Prophet ﷺ was gentle towards them. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ, that if he had been hard-hearted and quick to anger, they would have run away from him. They would have run away from the Prophet ﷺ. So it is a mercy from Allah that He has allowed our Prophet to be someone who is so kind and such an excellent example for good character. He has husn al-khuluq, he has khuluqun azim, he has excellent, great character. And this is such a beautiful example to learn from. So if there is one person that we look towards, we want to be like this person, it should be like the Prophet ﷺ. And we make dua to Allah that He allows us to have good character, that He perfects our character and allows our character to be so excellent that it is close to the character of the Prophet ﷺ. He makes him a role model for us and that He makes it easy for us to follow in the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ. So inshallah we will end here for today. Jazakallahu khairan kathiran. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.